What is up, YouTube? What is up, everybody in the world? How are you doing? It is your boy Hunter Dorsett, aka Crypto Diesel, and it's been my first video in a long time. My last video was December 24th, right before we left for Japan, and by the way, Japan was awesome. If you ever get the chance to go out there, Japan was kick-ass. Yeah, it just so happened to occur. And you can believe this or not, I would be skeptical myself. It just so happened that the Bitcoin and blockchain cryptocurrency market just plummeted during the time that I was not posting videos. And then now, the market's coming back. There's a returning sentiment. And now I'm back. I will say that when the market was kind of plummeting, I was definitely losing interest in the day-to-day news cycle of cryptocurrencies. I won't lie. I'm not a huge believer, or at least I'm not a huge junkie on altcoins. So, like, I have altcoins, right? I have, my fair share of them, but I really kind of dabble in the most well-known. I'm not really trying to moon off of, your top 300 coins or whatever. And so, yeah, there was a lot of updates that were happening. There's a lot of things that were in the news related to cryptocurrencies. But I wasn't I was working my ass off. As an auditor, it's busy season for us. And so up until mid-March, I was extremely busy and I have no time to make videos or have a life for that matter. But I also I was really just kind of following the price just to be in tune with the movement and kind of just understand how the sentiment was. I check on Reddit posts every once in a while, see how people are feeling. And it was getting pretty bleak for a while. People, they really, I guess when you're first getting in and you aren't aware of how volatile it can be pretty gruesome. And I think that I'm pretty level-headed in the way that I'm viewing it because I'm willing for what I've put in to go to zero, and that's okay with me. But even when it's coming down, even for me, when it's getting to about 70, 60% of what I originally invested in, and I got in kind of early compared to a lot of other people, it makes your eyebrows raise. You got to just take it on the chin. The thing is, though, I did not sell out. It amazed me because there was this, there was just this gathering of people that everyone was talking about it. Everyone was jazzed about it. Everyone was excited about it. There was so much hype. And I think that's, it is what it is. But it was very apparent to me after the market started souring and declining. Almost everyone that I talked to that was originally into cryptocurrencies sold all their shit. Even like my best friends that truly believe it. They're like, no, like Bitcoin's here to stay. Cryptocurrencies not going anywhere, but I still sold all my shit. And I was like, what? Really? I guess I'm just such like a hoarder, like I'm just like sitting on my pile of digital gold that one, I didn't want to pay taxes on it. I really did not want to have to deal with the taxes on it this season because I did not know how it's supposed to work. It was funny because everyone was like, oh, like the taxes are going to be ruining me and stuff. And I was like, I didn't sell anything, so I don't have anything to report. I was thinking for a while that, getting Bitcoin and trying to get other currencies and stuff with it would be something that I would have to report. Turns out it's a like-kind exchange. I'm not an advisor, financial advisor. I'm not a tax advisor. I just read that it's a like-kind exchange. And for right now, we don't have to report that. If I didn't cash out on my investments, then I don't need to report realized earnings because they weren't realized. So that was lucky. I was really stoked about that. And so that kind of made my tax situation a lot easier because I hadn't sold anything. But all that aside, I'm glad that things are returning back to a sense of normalcy. I did call that, in December, mid-December, late December, I said there was a dip. Bitcoin hit 19,000 and then it dropped down to like 13,000. Everyone was kind of like, oh, this sucks, right? And then I was like, it might keep happening this for a month. Little did I know, it would probably be like several months, right? But I was, again, I think everyone was aware that there was way too much hype. There was way too many people throwing stupid money at it that didn't really believe in it. And so I'm really stoked that the market's where it's at right now, that there is returning sentiment, that, you took a blow to the chin. Now the people that are here, the people that actually believe in it, and that you're not trading on weak hands anymore. But I had my best friend and a recent subscriber to my channel, Chase Williams, on YouTube, send me a comment on one of my more recent videos, what 2018 could have in store for cryptocurrencies. He sent me a comment saying, would you be willing to do a video on vocabulary that everyone should know if they want to get into basic investing, and also if they want to start understanding cryptocurrency and blockchain? I think that there are lots of different terminologies that you definitely should know. There are different realms and pockets of sort of terms that you should be getting familiar with as you're getting, more and more into this area. I'm kind of focusing more on the community aspects right here, where like these are things that I think you should know, because if you're going to keep in touch with the community of people that are dealing with cryptocurrencies and like the culture that's been raised around it, there is its own little small dialect that's been formed. And so I'm just going to enlighten people on, if you don't know that much about it, then this will help you understand what everyone's talking about. If you do know what these are and I'm saying it wrong, just say, hey, Hunter, you're an idiot, and this is what it actually means. And that way I can spread the gospel. A couple that I wrote down were HODL. And that's my first and foremost, my HODL, hold on for dear life. HODL is basically my philosophy, which is just you grab on to these coins that are yours, you put them in a secure place, and you just sit on them. And you don't sell them and you don't trade them for other ones. You purchase that because you believe in it, and you think, it's the holding on for dear life also acknowledges that you know that this is going to be a volatile investment, that there's going to be high highs and low lows. And so hodling is kind of just like a communal sentiment that says, hey man, we're all going through this roller coaster ride together. It's going to be okay. Do not sell out, basically. And so I'm a big believer in that one. That's like my favorite one. There's also FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So anytime you read stuff in the news about how Bitcoin's going to be regulated by the government and China's going to shut down all the mining operations and Venezuela is going to back cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency is going to be used for illicit activity in Venezuela's regime or whatever the fuck. Anything that's like bad news that makes people question either the morality of Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies or anything like that, that basically incites, doubt in people or uncertainty or fear. That's what FUD is. And so when people talk about, anything under the moon that makes it seem as though cryptocurrencies aren't legit, that's just the spreading of FUD. So I don't know. Of course, everyone needs to have, skepticism, and they need to think about things as objectively as they can. But you can pretty clearly tell when you've been doing it for not very long. Like it's pretty easy to spot FUD after you've been kind of in the market or like doing stuff with cryptocurrencies for just like a few months. It's like, this is a FUD post. This is a post that's just designed to get people to doubt or like feel uncertain about cryptocurrencies, and this has no bearing on the way I feel about it. There was a post by Jamie Dimon, or it wasn't Jamie Dimon. It was like some guy who was like the CEO of PayPal at some point, and he was like, "It's undeniably the biggest scam that's ever happened." And basically, like, every one of his points was just pointing to the fact that it's a nascent market, that it's like an infantile technology that is just beginning. And so he's like, well, it's super volatile. It's like, yeah, because there's a lot of people that are getting in and out really quick, and it's not that big of a market yet. And it's like, yeah, but it's usually used for illicit activity. It's like, no, it's not. Been plenty of studies that have fucking debunked that myth. Yeah, well, it's not a secure means of value. It's like, it's more secure than gold. Gold is bullshit. No one wants gold. No one's going to use gold. So yeah, you see articles like that and stuff, and that's FUD. And once you start really believing in the technology and you start forming your community of friends and people that are also on board with it, you can kind of spot that shit out and just neglect it, because you see it for what it is. It's people being scared that there's a new thing that they don't comprehend, and they're clinging on to the old ways, you know. Shill is important. I actually didn't know what this was for the first probably like 4 months or whatever that I was doing cryptocurrencies, investing, looking up videos and stuff. I kept hearing shill, and then I was like, it sounds like you're selling it. Like, oh, I shilled a bunch of coins. Like, oh, I sold off these coins. Like, get them off of my, my balance sheet. Shilling apparently is just hyping something up, and it's usually a derogatory term that's, given to people who are pretty influential or they have a big following. And so if let's say I had 100,000 followers, and then I always just talked about how dope Litecoin was. Like, Litecoin is the titties, right? They would say I would be a shill for Litecoin. I'd be somebody who, it's basically a knock on your objectivity and your credibility. And so you don't want to be a shill. And then, it's also just the general sentiment of things being overhyped, right? Like, you'll go to a Reddit post and everyone will be talking about EOS and like, it's an unproven technology, but it's going to be so game changing and blah, 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 blah. And you'll have like 30 people chiming in on how fucking awesome EOS is. And those are a bunch of shills, right? And it questions the integrity of the people that are posting it, because you're like, do you have some sort of like double, like, are you doing this so that other people will believe you and therefore your investments in it will go up, right? It's basically just a question on people's integrity. Other things that are important to know are like more technical things, like a hard versus a soft wallet, or AKA like a hot versus a cold means of storage, right? Cold is like separated. It's usually like taken offline. It's way more secure. Hot being kind of like, you can trade with it. It's on your phone. It's connected to the internet. It's a little more dangerous, but it's a lot more convenient. There's stuff like forks technologically that are honestly like not super intuitive. Like, it took me a while to understand blockchain, and now I think it's going to take me a while to understand forks, because I'm not going to act like I understand it completely. If you're going to ask me like, so what is a fork? All I know is that there are soft and hard forks, and that a soft fork is basically backwards compatible. It's like a change that doesn't invalidate everything before it. It's just this kind of like, it's acceptable with old transactions and blocks that have happened. It's like if I got an iPhone and then I got an update, that update wouldn't require me to completely overhaul my entire iPhone, right? It would be compatible with the other apps, even if those apps aren't, completely updated on the newest version or whatever. A hard fork is basically the reciprocal of that. It's everything has to be overhauled, basically. Like, it's a complete divergence, and everything that happened before that, it's not backwards compatible. Everything before that's not considered legitimate, and every node that's on the network that's like validating everything before the hard fork is not really contributing anything anymore, right? Everything needs to be on the new network after a hard fork, otherwise it's not really doing anything. That's kind of the idea. And then the other two like cultural ones to close out are to moon, which means to rocket up to the moon, to reach heights, all-time highs, basically to have a coin that was started at the bottom. Now we here, right? We're going to the moon. That's one of your more common ones. And then alongside that is to get the Lambo, or just to Lambo it, right? If you make a shit ton of money, I think the Lambo is like the destination, right? The moon is like the ride, or like hodling is the ride. The moon is like the ideal, and the Lambo is the reality that everyone wants, right? Everyone wants to make a shit ton of money, get a lot of value, and then get the Lambo, right? Just like, I got it, right? I got what I wanted. I just threw away money on it because I'm so plush in my cryptos that are so valuable. Those are the ones that I think are you're going to be running into a lot as you start digging deeper, Chase, into the cryptocurrency world and to the community. And they're fun. They're fun things to kind of interact with people with. I love just saying HODL to people. Like, that's my sign off, really. It's like HODL onward and upward, and see you later. So I guess I'll make it a little bit longer a longer video. Usually I try to keep it to about 15 minutes, but I don't know. I have a little more time, and it has been a while. I just wanted to share my general sentiments that, I really do think that it's been a trying time for cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and blockchain in general. There is this it's like the trope now is to say well, blockchain's okay. Blockchain's going to change everything, but cryptocurrencies are kind of shady. I don't know about all that, right? But it's the two go hand in hand. Like cryptocurrencies were naturally the first application upon which the blockchain was utilized. And so I think if you believe in blockchain, then to a certain extent, you kind of have to believe in cryptocurrencies too, at least as a legitimate idea, right? Or something that's not just full of BS. It's the creation of digital assets or tokenized forms that you can use to transact for things that you want or need, right? And I don't think that that's a crazy idea. I think it's as arbitrary as money, but it's a little bit even better because you can completely audit it and you can prove that you own it, right? Oh, I bought this on this date. It's in this wallet. It's mine, right? I'm the only one that has the keys to that wallet. Whereas if you have $1 in your hand, how can you prove that you own the dollar, right? Well, I have it in my hand. Well, you might have just taken it out of that guy's wallet, right? And so I think that there has been some positivity that's been going on. I know that there was kind of an investigation or this trial that was going on, not a trial, a session amongst the government where they were kind of looking into cryptocurrencies, and ultimately it was pretty good, reviews. I mean, everybody has to acknowledge that ICOs have scammed the shit out of people, so that sucks, right? And they have to think about how they're going to regulate ICOs. Initial coin offerings, there's another term for you. ICO is an initial coin offering, which is kind of similar to an initial public offering for a stock, right? If I'm a private company and I want to be publicly traded, I'm going to do an IPO. Similar with altcoins or everything that's not Bitcoin, essentially. You have these ideas that they want to put into fruition, and so they put this big thing together. They contact everyone on the internet and say, hey, we're going to go live on these days, and if you want to get a part of the party now, this is the ICO. You can get this amount of coins for this amount of money. Hop on the bandwagon, right? So ICOs kind of fuck with people because if you have no idea what you're doing and you're getting in... it's going to screw over people that are greedy. I hate to say it, but people that are greedy and that have no idea what they're doing. Now, there are really cleverly hatched ICO offerings and really well-developed presentations and ideas. And it's well, why didn't you just make it work? If you have a good enough idea, why don't you just do that instead of scamming people? It's happening all over the fucking world. And again, the idea that you should have in your head is that 90% of these cryptocurrencies that are out right now, we're probably going to be coming up to 2,000 sometime soon, but we're in the more than 1,000 territory of cryptocurrencies that are available. most of them are going to be not worth investing in, right? In the same way that freaking penny stocks, right? Well, the Joe Schmo Swiffer penny stocks or whatever that you're going to invest in, like the majority of those aren't going to moon either. They're not going to be worth anything. They're just going to be big scams. Now, if that thing does go up $1 and you bought 1,000 at, half a cent, then you're going to be feeling pretty freaking good, right? But it's a greed move. It's the highest risk. Therefore, it will be the highest reward or the highest loss. So when people are getting scammed by these ICOs, I think it really just points to, well, you didn't know what you were doing. You didn't do enough research and you were doing a greed move, right? You were playing off of your greed and you got burned. Sorry, dude. And not to invalidate them, like it still sucks. People shouldn't be scamming people, but I think there's been enough warning and flag waving to tell everyone, hey, this is a pretty volatile, crazy market. Don't come in if you don't know what you're doing. And yet people are still kind of just getting burned. So I think, there are legitimate reasons to be skeptical, legitimate reasons for you to second guess and question and make sure that you feel above and beyond great about what you're going to put your money into. That being said, I mean, the government can't, at least from a technological or a theoretical, practical standpoint, they can't say that it's not a legitimate way of transacting. You can validate and audit the transaction. It's publicly transparent and available so you can track it. There's uniformity, consensus, and it's immutable. You can't fuck with it, right? How is that not legit? How is there not intrinsic value in that, right? So I think that there are, definite steps that need to be taken by the government in regulating it. And I'm not completely against there being some sort of regulation. You got to think about it though. It's not like the US government can regulate all of cryptocurrency and blockchain because the blockchain is not a USA thing. It is a network of computers that aren't beholden to the government. Now, it can restrict your access to it, and it can restrict if somebody's going to say, "Oh, I'm in the USA and I'm going to make an ICO." Well, you're probably going to start pretty soon having more and more SEC regulations that you're going to have to adhere to, and maybe that sucks. Maybe it doesn't. I think we'll wait and see. But I know that if legislators spend a shit ton of time legislating over it, that's only a legitimizer, right? It shows how, I guess, you can't just be like, oh, it's a big scam. If legislators are spending a lot of time, resources, and willpower to try and get something to where it is safe for consumers to use, and because they wouldn't be messing with something that wasn't legitimate, and so I'm excited to see kind of where it goes. Now we just recently had Facebook get its sort of public trial with Mark Zuckerberg, and the people that were asking him questions don't even know what Facebook is. They're like, how can you sustain a business where you don't charge anyone for anything? He's like, sir, we run ads. He's like, It's like, come on, dude. Could you have done 30 minutes of research or just have a Facebook before you freaking get on stage and ask stupid questions? Truly important questions that need to be asked of this guy. And you're asking how you can sustain a business without people charging people? Come on, dude, you're an idiot. I think that the government's going to have that much and more of a learning curve to try and figure out before, anything legitimate comes around where there's laws in place that actually protect the consumers, because they don't understand it. Until we get people that are a little younger, a little more savvy with technology that actually know what this stuff is and why it's relevant, then you're just going to have the old gray-haired people on the outside looking in, being like, I don't know about that. We should just cross that out and put some red tape there and just try and make sure that that's not screwing people. But they don't understand it. So I think regulation will be good. I also think that, like the fact that you have people that were really struggling going through this last 4 months or so. Since December, Bitcoin's price plummeted down to about 6,500 at its lows. So that's well over 60, almost 70% drop. And you know what? I think it's great. I hate to say it. Like, I really hate to say it, but I think it's fantastic. It gets people back in that want to be a part of it, and it gives people that are already a part of it like a great chance to reinvest. Now, I'll admit, like when it went down to 13, I thought it was going to consolidate there for a bit and go back up. But and I haven't invested any more since it went. I put in a little bit at 13, and then it dropped a little bit, and I was like, I'm just gonna chill. I put in more than I wanted to anyway. It's just too risky to be putting anything more than what I put in, and so I'm just like, it's not right for me to be putting in more, but it's great for other people. If you're just now trying to get in, this is the time. This is the time to get in, because I think that it'll have similar strides that it takes, but now it's platforming on higher valuations, right? Instead of starting at 1,000, whereby it rockets up to 19,000, now it's going to be at like 10,000 and rocket up to however high. There was an interesting thing that I saw where it was like basically after every power of 10, there's some sort of like correction, and then it just rockets back up. So it's like, when it was $1, it rocketed up to $10 and then crashed down to like $6 or whatever. And then when I got up to $100, it crashed back down to 50 or whatever. And then 1,000 down, 10,000 down. So you're like, could that mean 100,000? It's not a crazy, it's not that crazy, man. We're already sitting on 10,000. Why would it be so crazy for it to go to 100,000, right? So I think it's going to be exciting times ahead. I think that there have been some announcements as far as like partnerships and stuff that have dropped. One that was surprisingly like this weird controversial thing was with Verge, the Verge coin, the privacy coin. And they linked up with Pornhub. And, you get mixed results. Like Pornhub actually apparently has like a great service team. So like when people were having issues like getting and using Verge coin on the platform, like they were really helpful. But then it was like, is this the best thing? Like, is this a good legitimizer? Like, yeah, Pornhub is a real business, right? And it might be shady from a, porn is generally looked down on, but it is a legit business. And the fact that you have a legitimate business literally teaming up with Vergecoin and giving it that much more publicity and that much more like just FaceTime on people's screens, people saying, well, what is that? How do I get into that? And then learning about it that way. It has mixed opinions. Like people don't know if they like that, if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's a legitimizer. I think I'm not against it. I don't know if you want to learn about cryptocurrencies and blockchain on a Pornhub website. I don't know if that's the way that you should get drawn in or that you should first hear about it or see it. That being said, it's kind of a cool interaction because Vergecoin is a privacy coin. And if you want to like make a transaction and it's completely private, that's it's a legitimate use case, right? It's a legitimate partnership, and that makes sense. It's just whether or not, society and people that are newly learning about it, whether or not that's okay. So I just thought that was interesting. Just because it was this thing that they had like $75 million that got contributed to this kind of pump up, like, hey, we have this partnership that's coming down the pipeline. Like you should they were basically like raising capital funds to be able to like have this partnership be announced and like fully integrated and everything. And when it got announced, it just plummeted. Like Vergecoin just plummeted to like half of its price, and it's still kind of down there, and like everyone's just thinking it's shady. I still think it like could be a legit long-term use case. I think people might get over the initial shock of it. They might have wanted Amazon or whatever, but they got what they got. And I think at the end of the day, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think partnerships in general are cool. Partnerships where you're linking cryptocurrencies into the real world, that everyday real world that people interact with, it's always going to be a game changer. It's always going to be probably a good thing in the long run. But enough about all that. I'm running kind of long. I'm kind of, I guess, just rambling at this point. So I'll go ahead and sign off now. But thanks to everyone that has subscribed to the channel. I think I only have like 7 of y'all right now. But I love y'all's feedback. I love the fact that there's even the smallest bit of interaction on my channel. That makes me feel great. I love learning with you guys. I'm not an expert. I do not know so much about blockchain. There's so much more that I have to learn. But I would like to be somewhat of a spearhead in having people that are ordinary average Joes learning about it. And so I think I'm excited to keep posting videos, learning new things, sharing those things with you guys. And thanks for joining the ride. So for now, HODL onward and upward. And I will see you soon. Adios.